to output our own goals, I'll add a new component in the components folder. And to keep it manageable, I'll actually create a new subfolder for every component. This is not a must do, but I personally like doing this because then I can quickly find all my components. Of course, you now need to adjust your import here in app.js. My IDE did it automatically. In case that did not happen, make sure you adjust your goal list import to reflect that new folder I added. And then I will add a new goal component here in the components folder as well. In there, add a new goal.js file and a new goal.css file if you want to apply some styling. Now, in a new goal.js file, we first of all need to import React from React. You always need to do that, otherwise you can't use JSX in that file because, keep in mind, JSX is translated to React create element. And then here I have my new goal component here. We could accept props, but as long as we don't need them, we don't have to. And then I export new goal. Now in app.js, I want to render new goal. So I will import new goal. Again, the name here is up to you, but it should start with a capital starting character. And I import this from components, new goal, new goal. And then here we can render this above our goal list, let's say, like that. Now this wouldn't work because new goal is not yet a valid React component because it's a function right now, but it's not a function that works as a React component because it's not doing one crucial thing. It's not returning JSX. So let's return some JSX here. And there, to keep things simple, I'll add a form. And in that form, I'll add an input field. Type text, self-closing element. In regular HTML, this doesn't have to be self-closing. In JSX, it does have to be self-closing. And then a button, which is of type submit, where I say add goal. A very simple form. And if we now save that, you should see it here. Now let's add some styling to make this look a bit prettier. For that, I'll add a class to the form, new-goal, and I'll import the new goal CSS file into the new goal JavaScript file. And then here on the new goal class, which is added on the form, I'll add a margin of 2 rem in all directions and text align center so that this looks a bit nicer. And now we could also style the input and the button, but I don't want to spend too much time on that, so I will leave it the way it is. Now right now, when you click the button, by the way, this page will reload because right now the default browser functionality will kick in, which is that when a button of type submit is clicked in a form, a request is sent to the server that served this page. Now that's not the behavior we want here though, because here I don't want to send a request to any server because we're not doing anything on the server side. Instead, I want to handle that click with JavaScript. And that is the first thing I'll do here. Let's see how we can handle events, because thus far we haven't done that. I want to handle the submit event of this form here. And React makes that simple. We can add event listeners to any element, not just to the form, but to any element by adding on, lowercase on, and then the name of the event. Now, not every event is supported on every element, but here you got the default HTML elements available. So for example, on a form element, you have the submit event. On submit. On a button, you also have on click, but since it's a button in a form, it's better to handle this on the form itself. Now, what do you pass as a value to on submit though? As a value, you have to pass a function that should be triggered when this event happens. So a pointer to a function. You could do this here with curly braces and then an anonymous inline function. But I don't like that too much. Instead, I will create a new function here. And in JavaScript, you can create functions in functions. So instead of the new goal function, which it still is in the end, I can create a new function. I will create my add goal handler. Now the naming is up to you, but I like this naming of having handler at the end of my function name if it is a function that is triggered upon some event. So this is a function. In this case, I'll again use an arrow function, which is not a must do, but I will use only arrow functions here. And onSubmit now can point at add goal handler. Don't execute it here, so don't add parentheses. Instead, you just want to point at the function so that the browser and React, in a common effort, can execute this function for you when this submit event occurs. Now, this function will get an event object, an event parameter, passed in automatically by React, and there, for example, we can call prevent default, which prevents the browser default of sending a request to some backend, which it shouldn't do here because we're not handling this on the server side here. Our server only serves that single index HTML file. It does not have any logic to handle any submissions. Instead, I want to handle it here in JavaScript on the front end in my React application. And for the moment, I'll ignore what the user entered here, and I will simply instead create a dummy goal. And I want to pass that dummy goal to app.js and add it to my course goals here so that it then is rendered here. Now, step by step. We can create a new dummy goal, of course, in that add goal handler by adding a new goal constant here, which is a JavaScript object. The ID here could be a random number with math random. This, of course, is not really a unique ID, but it's good enough, and I'll convert it to a string. It's good enough for our demo application here, I mean. And then the text here later will be the text the user entered here. For now, just some dummy text, my new goal. So now we have the new goal here, and of course, we can console log that to see that everything up to this point works. So if we save that, we see our form here. And if I click on add goal, the page will not reload, but instead we see this dummy goal here. And I can create, of course, multiple goals, but at the moment they're not added to this list. To add them to the list, we now need to get that goal out of the new goal component to the app component. Now before, we learned we can pass data around with props, but that was from app to goal list, so to a lower level component, a component which is included in app. Now it's the other direction. We want to pass data from new goal to the parent component, so to the component which includes the new goal component. How does this work?